Okay, we've had a detailed look at the green Diplodocus, and can I take a moment to admire this beautiful paint application again? But now we're going to the brown. The overall color palette is a lighter one, with lighter browns that we don't often see. The color palette flows nicely, and my favorite part is right here in the proximal tail. I really like the pattern, and I wish this was continued here, and maybe down the tail as well. The whole thing just gives me vibes of this beautifully painted ornithopod by J. Carrier, and also my beautiful Cesar Gomez Ampelosaurus. However, up here you see a change in pattern, comprising mainly of spots and stipples. And up in the neck, we transition to yet another pattern. So across the entire model, you have 3 different patterns. There are animals in real life that show regional pattern differences, such as the okapi, the Bengal cat, and the young tapir. But the colors all work harmoniously together and certainly looks like useful disruptive coloration. The lightness of this color makes it a rather cheerful addition to your shelf, which is refreshing if you're used to somber, darker colors for your sauropods. So let's take a closer look. Now starting at the head again, we see again the very crisp detail in the scalation throughout the face. Those parallel muscular ridges are less obvious in this one. The nasal soft tissue is an orange, which doesn't stand out as much against the brown. Going down the neck, you see again the exquisite detail dressing this very long expanse. We also see how smoothly the colors blend. The natural infusion of those spots, which look like subcutaneous pigmentation, which is something we now expect in a masterfully painted model. In the body, you can see how finely detailed the skin texture is. Now I've heard rumblings of cracks, and Lana Time Shop in fact put up a circular warning of such. And while the ones in our previous green looked less obvious to me, and in fact some I thought were deliberate embellishments, in this one they're actually more obvious. In general, they're very small. But others are a lot more obvious, and you'll see that for yourself later. Now those midline dermal spines are again quite poorly painted, and this time with an additional problem, that of excessive flesh surrounding them. If they don't bother you, you can ignore them, but I'll have mine removed at some point. On a brighter note, they're right next to those tiny scales in the dorsal midline, which I really like. And unfortunately, again, some rather glaring cracks in the skin. Now I take them to be expressions of craggy skin, and hopefully there's nothing structural to worry about. And moving down this side of the torso, you see how nicely the colors are applied. So here we go down the shoulder, the arm, the forearm, and here's the kind of detail I was talking about, which reflects the overall sculpt quality in this model. And here you see those creases at the base of the thumb claw, and reflecting how the claw emerges from the surrounding skin. Not to mention the grooves in the claw itself. Very nice. Then here in the hind limb, you can see how exemplary the sculpting is. Especially I'd say down the legs and shins, which are areas not often thought of as showcase regions. Going down the tail, and as I've said, I absolutely love this design and color in the stripes. I wish they'd continued down, but the transition is handled well. And I really like the alternating browns and off-white banding. The osteoderms in this color also look more organic than having them all in orange. Mercifully, no contrived color accent at the tail tip this time. So that's an overall look at the brown. The colors are again harmoniously chosen. I really like the striping pattern in the tail here, and I wish they'd continued further proximally. But overall, it looks so pleasing and cheery that I can't fault it. And now for the blue. The so-named blue often appears dark grey, and in some light, a very dark grey-blue. At first blush, it appears very similar to the blue Haolongoogd Giganotosaurus variant, but let's take a fairer look to help you decide if you want it. I know a couple of people who'd be only too glad to take this off my hands after the review is done. So starting at the head, you see the detail in the scalation, and also the color highlight in the narial region. It's a very dark brown, which can hardly be seen, and that in itself is a really nice look. You can also see the nice texture in the beak. We've seen how dark colors often show more detail than you'd expect. And as we go down the neck, you can certainly see this is so. As for those white marks, I'm happy to say not quite so bad. In the first place, thank the maker that these aren't squiggly. That already removes one problem. They're rather well integrated into the surrounding skin, and even through all that color, you can make out the scale detail. Now this right side is a better look, with the lighting to bring out that intricate detail more clearly. I should point out that the light spots are actually in two colors. The first is a flat white, but some of these are a very pale yellow or beige color. So the whites converging down to meet the pale beige, seemingly pulled from the ventral surface, has a very nice sense of design. So we're going into the body now. We have those minuscule scales, skin folds just a bit closer up here, and you can see the very nice granular textures in the body. And the skin detail that shows up very clearly even against the dark. There's a dry graininess that really makes this feel like a craggy, living animal. Now again, we have to discuss those midline dermal spines. Here, Haolongoogd has topped them in orange, which actually makes the careless application less obvious. What's more notable is the flash on this is really quite bad, and I'll really have to have some of it removed. Now down the shoulder and the front limb. Again, very nice detail in the sculpt. Really liking the super fine creases here. Looks really believable at the 1:35 scale. Then the hind limbs, starting from the hip and going down. Again, very nice detail with that dry granularity we've already seen in the other two variants. Very nice integration of those spots here. And I actually like the beige in the posterior here. Now going into the tail, you see these patches, at first in the same kind of blue, but then changing to a banded pattern, where the stripes start to have infusions of brown, giving it a purplish hue, which reminds me of one of the Haolongoogd variants. And as with the brown version, again these speculative osteoderms look very natural, taking on the hues of this color palette. So that's it for the blue. Overall, I'd have to say that as a concept, the paint and pattern scheme is really pleasing, and most of the white spots don't look too stark. I won't sugarcoat it though, some do, and would be better off toned down. And those dermal spine flashes really want trimming. In our final video, we'll get to the comparisons. Meanwhile, now you've seen all three, what do you think? And if you've ordered yours already, which did you get? Let me know in the comments below.